journey of studying natural health, which I've been doing now for over 50 years. And not quite 18 years ago, October of this year will be 18 years ago, I was first introduced to this water idea, this Japanese water technology that we call Kangen water. And I was skeptical of it. It sounded just like too good to be true. You know, every single thing that you heard about was almost miraculous what it was doing for people, and I thought, how could that possibly be true? How, you know, water's just water. How could, if that were true, why didn't our doctors tell us? Why didn't we already know about it? Why didn't I hear about it after 35 years of study, and why had I never even heard of the concept? And so it took me a while to be convinced. I took 30 days off my work. I literally went to my office, but for 30 days in a row, I didn't do any work. All I did was did research on this water. I read more than 20 books on it. I interviewed doctors and scientists, a couple of doctors that had been using it in their practice for years with thousands of patients. I listened to 350 recorded testimonials where people were swearing how to change their life, and these weren't actors. You know, this is like listening to your grandma and your grandpa tell you a story. You knew they weren't lying to you, and it just amazed me. The more I learned, the more I needed to learn about it, and the more I knew I was going to have to share it with others. If it turned out to be true, it would be no way that I could know about this and not devote my life to teaching others about it, because it was just that important, not just for my sister, but for everybody to know about. So anyway, that's where I'm coming from. After over 35 years of studying natural science, natural health science, I all of a sudden learned about this incredible water, and I quickly came to the conclusion that it was the most important thing about health that I'd ever learned, you know, beyond herbals, beyond nutrition, you know, beyond anything that I'd ever been experienced or exposed to. This was it was the basis for everything. And so it really got me to realize the importance that, you know, I'll transition this into the next question, Wade, about why drink this water. Water is the key to life. Everything in life, all forms of life, depends on water. You know, life as we know it, you know, in our world on Earth, or even in the universe, you know, when we go to send probes to Mars, and the first thing they're always looking for is there any sign of water anywhere, because we know there's no life anywhere possible without it. So every single chemical reaction that happens within our bodies that makes life possible only happens in the presence of water, and therefore is completely dependent on water. So water is the key to everything. And then as I did my deep dive and studied and learned more and more, I began to realize that this is the best water you can put in your body. That they're literally, you know, water is the key to life, and this is the best water you can possibly drink. So it's a no-brainer once you realize that. So November 10th, 2007, I bought my machine, and I've been drinking this water every single day of my life ever since. I mean, I never not missed one single day ever, and I never will. I don't go anywhere without it. If I'm going out of town and I'm going where the people wherever I'm going don't have the machine, I put it in the backpack and I carry it on my carry-on luggage on the airplane. I take it with me. Easy to hook up. And if I'm staying in a hotel, anywhere I'm going, I used to travel around the United States a lot. You know, for about 15 years or so, I at least 6, 8, sometimes 10 times a year, I would take a month or 10 days or 12 days and travel around the United States supporting my Kangen water team, teaching seminars, you know, to everybody else's prospects at churches and schools and health expos and fitness centers and golf courses, restaurants, private homes, health expos, radio shows, anywhere that somebody wanted to learn about this. That's what I've been doing, is teaching about it. So most of the time when people would invite me to come to their town or their church or their school and give a talk, you know, they'd be kind enough to pick me up at the airport and put me up at their house on a couch or in an extra bedroom or somewhere. I'd have a place to stay, and they'd always have a Kangen machine. But if I was ever going somewhere to give a talk where the person inviting me didn't already have a Kangen machine, I took mine with me. I just made up my mind that this is too important. I won't ever be without it. So that's sort of the big picture on my background and why drink this water? Why take the time to make it a habit? Why make it? By the way, you know, Wade, thank you for sharing all those tips this morning about, you know, setting goals and making good habits, because they're very important, and we all need them, and I am no exception. I need them too. So it was a good refresher to hear. And
I Yeah, I love that type of article. When I go back through, I'm like, yeah, where are you, Wade? What are you doing? You know, in all your success, whatever, don't walk away from the things that created that success. And Stu, that's what I love about with talking with you is, you know, the first thing you do is go, listen, you cannot stop drinking your water. You can't walk away from that. And I know that, you know, we've heard you before. How much water do you drink a day, and how much do you recommend for people a day? And so we'll just kind of get into it from there.
Okay. Well, personally, I drink a gallon and a half every day. And I shouldn't say it that way. I drink a minimum of a gallon and a half every day. Sometimes I'll drink more. And like I live in Palm Desert. Today it's going to be 116. By next month we get up into 120s, you know, so water is even more important here, you know. So sometimes in the real hot part of the summer I'll drink, you know, 2 gallons a day, that kind of thing. But in 17 and a half years, I've never gone with less than a gallon and a half a day. And I'm a huge believer in the importance of the water. I don't necessarily expect everybody's going to do what I do. You know, it's a commitment, you know, and you know, it's not without its effort. I mean, it's no effort to drink the water. I mean, the water's delicious. I don't feel good if I don't drink it. I mean, literally, if I don't have enough, I mean, you feel it, you know, and you don't want to do anything until you get it, you know. But the effort part is you have to go to the bathroom a lot because, you know, what goes in must come out, you know, and the more water you drink, the more often you're going to urinate. But what I've learned about that, you know, the science of it is that that's a good thing, you know. Literally, the more you urinate, the more you're cleaning acids and toxins and poisons and waste out of your body. And in this area, you've only got 2 choices. You either flush these toxins and acid waste out of your body, or they will accumulate in your body. There is no in between. There's no other choice. You always have them in your body. You're always exposed to environmental toxins, you know, things in the air we breathe, things in the foods we eat, the pesticides, the herbicides, the preservatives. You know, we're always exposed to these things, and once they enter your body tries to get rid of them. You know, if it's not from nature and it's not healthy, it's not good, your body goes to great lengths to try to get them out of there. But you can't get them out of there effectively without adequate water. Water's the key to everything. It not only delivers all the nutrients, you know, the proteins and carbohydrates and fats and enzymes and vitamins and minerals and oxygen and all the vital components you need to make energy in the cell to keep us alive. And, you know, the water's not only the key for that, but water's also the key for eliminating all the waste products, the acids and the toxins that enter with the food. And, you know, without adequate water, you can't do that effectively. So a goal that I set early on, and I still do it. I mean, it literally has been almost 18. November 10th will be 18 years, so it's a little over 17 and a half now, I think. But to this very day, every single time I drink the water, I keep track of how much I'm drinking. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that, oh, well, I'm drinking more than I ever have. I'm drinking lots of water. I always ask people, how much are you drinking? And I get 2 answers I get are, the most common one I always get is, well, I don't know, probably not enough. You know, and the second one is whether they don't keep track of it, they don't really know how much they drink. And I always stress, take the time to keep track of it, because the only way to reach your goal is to know that you're reaching it. Because if you just rely on, oh, well, I'll drink when I'm thirsty, or, oh, well, you know, I'll just, you know, I'm making an effort here, I'll have an extra glass here, an extra glass there. But if you don't keep track of it, by the end of the day, you don't really know. Did you drink 2 quarts today? Did you drink 3? Did you drink 4.5? You know, you don't really know. It's easy to get into that trap of thinking, well, I'm drinking plenty. It's more than it's more than I've ever drank. It's plenty, and you think it's enough, but you don't really know if you don't keep track of it. And you'll oftentimes find out if you're not keeping track of it, you're really not drinking as much as you think you are. So what I suggested to a lot of people over the years, and what has worked well for me, I mean, everybody can have their own ideas how they want to pursue things. Mine's not the only way to do things, of course. But what has served me well is I believe in getting a big glass. Everybody, I'll ask them, how much do you drink? And they'll say, oh, I drank 6 glasses. Well, what does that mean? You know, that's like saying I bought 6 bags of groceries. Well, how big is the bag, and what did you put in it, you know? So if you say you drank 6 glasses of water today or 8 glasses of water today, well, are those 6-ounce glasses, like those little things that jelly comes in at the store? Or are they size of a cup of coffee? Are they an 8-ounce glass? Or are they a 12-ounce glass? Are you talking about a 16-ounce glass? Are you talking about one of these big big things that are like 26 ounces glass. It isn't the number of glasses; it's the number of ounces that matters. So the way I do it is I get a 16-ounce glass, and the reason I chose that is because 2 of them make a quart. 32 ounces in a quart, and that's the way I choose to keep track of it. It's so much easier to keep track of it by quarts than it is by glasses. So I made a rule early on that I never drink the water unless I drink at least a quart at a time. And for those that are just starting out, or aren't used to it, that can seem daunting, like, oh my gosh, that's so much water. Well, maybe it seems like that if you're not used to it, but I guarantee, it's like you just said about the habits, Wade. Within 21 days, it's a habit and there's nothing to it. And it doesn't really even take that long on the water. If you start drinking a quart at a time, within a week or so, you're totally used to that. And believe me, your stomach can easily hold a quart, and you only drink this water on an empty stomach. You never drink it with your meals because you don't want to interfere with your digestion. You have to have acid to digest your food, so you don't want to neutralize all your stomach acid. So since you only drink it on an empty stomach, and everybody's got at least a quart volume room in their stomachs, there's no trouble with doing it. And the water, one of its properties, it's microclustered, so your body absorbs it much, much faster than ordinary water or any other liquid. So you don't go around feeling bloated. You don't feel like you swallowed a volleyball. You don't feel stuffed or full. If you're not used to drinking a lot of water, the first few times you drink it, you may feel a little fuller than you're used to. But literally, within 5 minutes, more than half of that water's out of your stomach already, and within 10 minutes, it's all out of your stomach. So after a few months of drinking a quart a day, I decided, many of you have heard me talk about Dr. Barry Ah. I know Jan, knows him so well, and brilliant guy. And if you haven't ever listened to him, go on YouTube and put in Dr. Barry Ah, Barry, and his last name is Ah, like in awe of God, Awe. And he put in Dr. Barry Ah, and then the word Kangen, Kangen. And listen to a couple of recordings that he's done that are on YouTube now, and you'll learn so much. Really brilliant guy, and I had the pleasure of being the one that taught him about Kangen water originally. We had a 4-hour phone conversation way back in 2008, and before we hung up, he did not hang up without ordering his machine on the phone. He said, what's the fastest way I can possibly get this water for my family? And I said, well, the fastest possible way is we'll do the paperwork right now, and I'll overnight it to you, but it'll cost $100 extra to get it overnighted. He said, oh, it's worth it. He said, I want it here as soon as possible. And anyway, you learn so much from listening to him. And it was in conversations with him that made me decide that I wanted to increase the amount I was drinking. Because when I first started out, I was only drinking maybe a gallon a day, which, that was more than I'd ever drank in my life. I never liked water before. I grew up in farm country in Illinois, and, if I was going to Grandma and Grandpa's, we'd go out in the backyard and get water out of the well. That was fresh and good, and I really liked that. But most of the water that I got, like city water with the chlorine and the fluoride and all that, it was a gag reflex just getting it down. I didn't like it. And I never, ever liked bottled water. That always gagged me. But all of a sudden, this water's delicious, so I started drinking a lot of it and loving it. But Dr. Barry was sharing with me that he was recommending to all of his patients, to try to drink 2 gallons a day. He has like 10, 11-year-old children. He was having them drink 2 gallons a day. And holy cow, that's really a commitment. And we started talking about it, and he was telling me that it was just the miracles he was seeing with his patients when they would go to that amount. And I had become friends with, and an early mentor I had was Dr. Dave Carpenter, who had actually gone to Japan as a guest American doctor and toured their hospitals, where he saw firsthand some of the miracles they were achieving with this water in their hospitals over there. And he had already been sharing the water with thousands and thousands of patients, Enagic came to the United States in 2003. So I met Dr. Dave at the end of maybe December of 2007 or maybe early spring of 2008. So basically 4 or 5 years he'd been sharing this water with his patients with incredible benefits. And he shared with me, that, and this is one that I think we can all relate to. Everybody doesn't have to drink 1.5 gallons or 2 gallons a day. I'm not saying that at all. You don't have to. If you drink 1 gallon a day, this is going to change your life forever. It is the world's healthiest substance. There's nothing you can possibly put in your body that's better for you than this water. Nothing. Nothing in the world. It is the world's healthiest substance. And you don't have to drink 2 gallons or 1.5 gallons like I do to get great benefit from it. Everybody, I feel, should drink an absolute minimum of 3 quarts a day. And the reason I say that is the average adult will lose 3 quarts of water out of their body every day. Most people don't realize this. If you think about how much water 3 quarts is, you're losing that much out of your body every day just by urinating, by sweating, when you digest your food. It takes a lot of water in the digestion process. People don't think about this. They always think about stomach acid and digestion and chewing and everything and enzymes. But the final stage of digestion requires copious amounts of water, because every single thing you're eating, whether it's eggs or a banana, an apple, whatever it is, everything you're eating, in order to enter your bloodstream, it has to become a liquid. You have to completely break it down small enough that it can be a solution or a suspension in liquid to be absorbed into your bloodstream and carried onto the cells. So how do you make things liquid? Well, in the final analysis, you do it with water. Water is the basis for all liquids. So at the end of digestion, after you've chewed it and churned it in your stomach and burn it up with acid and broke it down with enzymes, the final stage is a lot of water's drawn in there to liquefy it so it can be absorbed into the body. So digestion itself takes a lot of water. So on average, we'll use 3 quarts of water up every day. Just when you breathe, every single time you breathe out, we exhale, you're losing water. If you go out in the winter on a cold day, you can see your breath. It looks like steam. Well, it is like steam. It is water vapor. That's what you're seeing. But it isn't just in the winter when it's cold. Every single breath of your life, after breathing in, when you breathe out, you're breathing out water vapor. That's what carbon dioxide is. All food is carbon-based. So when the food is broken down in your cells and converted, we call it metabolism. When it's converted into energy. When the oxygen and the respiratory enzymes and the fuel, like the glucose or the fatty acids, the fuel in your cells, when it's burnt, to make energy, just like any time in nature that energy is created, there's always a residue. Burn the logs in the fireplace, the residue is ashes. Burn coal in the furnace, the residue is cinders. Burn gasoline in your automobile, the residue is exhaust fumes. It's the same in your cells. Every single one of your trillions of cells is burning energy all the time, and just like the fireplace, there's ashes left over, and it's always acidic, almost always acidic. There are very few foods that actually leave alkaline ash. And so one of the absolute keys to health is your body's ability to get that acid ash out of the cells and out of the body, because you don't want acid to accumulate. All bad things happen in aging and disease when acid accumulates in your body, because acid degrades tissue. It burns, it corrodes, it destroys tissue. And the more concentrated that acid is, the more damaging it is to your health. Acid in your kidneys leads to kidney stones. Acid accumulation, acidic urine, and all the acids backing up in your kidneys leads to what we call kidney disease. Acid in your lungs, that's emphysema, COPD, asthma. Acid in your bursa sacs of your joints, that leads to what we call arthritis. Acid in your connective tissue and in your joints and your muscle fibers, that's what we call fibromyalgia. Acid in your big toe, we all know that's the gout. Acid in your brain, that we call that dementia. We call that Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ADHD. It's acid inside your cells. The name of that is cancer. Everything that goes wrong in the body is accumulation of acid toxins and acid waste. So here I am going down the rabbit hole. I got too far away again. But it all starts with getting that acid out of your body. And you need 2 things to do that. You need alkaline minerals to help neutralize the acid, which, of course, you get in abundance by drinking Kangen water. 9.5 pH Kangen water that we all transition into drinking. We start with 8.5 and work up to 9.5. But that's basically 100 times more alkaline than ordinary tap water. So you're really getting a lot of the electrolytes, calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, the minerals that allow energy to flow through your body. You get those every time you drink the water in abundance, and they build up in your bloodstream. They give you a buffering capability or a reserve capability to help you neutralize acid that's always forming in your body. So I started on this with the importance of urinating, because every time you urinate, guess what you're getting rid of? Acid. You're getting rid of acid, waste, and toxins that if you don't get rid of them, they accumulate. And when they accumulate, they build up in your fat cells or in your joints or in your tissues or in your lungs or in your colon or wherever they may build up. Where they accumulate, that accelerates aging and invites the disease process. Because one of the other things I've learned in 50-some years of study in health science is that all diseases have a common denominator. All of them. We call them pathogens, the things that could make you sick or eventually might kill you. Things that you've heard of all the time, like bacteria, fungus, mold, virus, mycoplasmas, cancers, all these different pathogens. The common denominator is all of them thrive in the acidic environment that's low in oxygen. And none of them can thrive in the alkaline environment that's rich in oxygen. So isn't that like a no-brainer? If you don't want diseases to flourish in you, then you want to maintain an alkaline, oxygen-rich environment in your body. And there's no better way to do that than to drink this water, because this water neutralizes the acid and carries out the toxins, and it also provides the alkalinity that you need to have an oxygen-rich alkaline environment, which is what we thrive in. We produce our energy by the respiration of oxygen. And the more alkaline the environment, the more oxygen that's present in it. The more acidic the environment, the less oxygen that's present in it. So the big difference between us and the pathogens, like the bacteria and viruses and funguses of this world, we produce our energy by respiration of oxygen. So we need oxygen is vital for our ability to make energy and to live. Well, they're the opposite. They don't do well in the presence of oxygen, but they use hydrogen to produce their energy. So they need the acidic, low oxygen, high hydrogen environment of an acid environment to produce their energy to thrive. So when we do things in a way that's good for us, the high oxygen alkaline environment, we're not only nourishing our body and promoting health in our body, we're discouraging the presence of the things that may end up making us sick and causing disease and will eventually kill us. So it's so important to maintain this alkaline pH throughout your body, and there isn't a better way to do it in nature than drinking this water. So I think I've taken a long time to address that, but if you understand that, then it's like a no-brainer. Of course, why wouldn't I? We all know there's no life without water. Your garden needs it, your pets need it, your house plants need it, your crops need it. I mean, there's no life anywhere in the universe without water. This is a story that I share every now and then, but I think it's real pertinent. Remember years ago they discovered a tomb of King Tut. It was like one of the old pharaohs. They found him. I was surprised, and traveled the world, and everybody had exhibits everywhere you could learn about King Tut. Well, one of the things they found was in his tomb. They found ancient wheat seeds called kamut, K-A-M-U-T, and these seeds had been dry in that tomb with him for over 3,000 years when they found them. And, all dried up and everything, and they took them and put them into soil, and nothing happened. And then they added water to it, and they sprouted and came to life instantly, within days. After 3,000 years under the desert in a dried-up tomb, just sitting there waiting, when you added water, life happened. And that's how it is with everything. We've all seen the plants in your house or the plants in your garden that the leaves are turning yellow or drooping or drying up, starting to fall off, and the stem of the plant's leaning over and drooping, and you can tell it's not doing well. We all know what it needs, water. And what happens when you give water to that wilted plant? Within days, you see it spring back up to life. You see it turn green rather than yellow. You see it straighten back up. You see the leaves get strong again. Water's the key to it all. And we're no exception. This is the best water you can put in your body. It's got special properties that you don't get from other water, which, that's a whole other thing. We could talk for hours about that, which I'm happy to sometime if you ever want to. But anyway, Wade, ask me something else because I'm just rambling on here. I'm sorry.
No. The rambling is perfect, man. My hand is already cramping from taking notes. I love it. Every time we talk, we go through that. So, what are some of those specialties? I'm sure that's the questions. It's like, well, wait a minute. What makes this different? What makes this different than going and buying 9.5 water or 8.8 at the store or something like that? What makes it different? So I'm sure that's the question that people are popping through their head right now is why this water?
Okay. Before I leave the last one real quick, I want to just tie it together. How much should you drink? Dr. Dave Carpenter, what he found with thousands of patients, over years and years of sharing this water with them, he said that the bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum is 1/2 ounce per pound of your body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, half of that would be 75 ounces of water, which is a little over 2.5 quarts. If you weigh 200 pounds, then the minimum would be 100 ounces. 96 ounces is 3 quarts, so that's close enough. But again, that's the minimum. And when you're dealing with your health, you don't want to do the minimum. You want to do what's optimal. So what Dr. Dave found with, again, thousands of patients over several years, the ones that we're seeing, absolutely incredible health benefits, way beyond what the average person was seeing, they were drinking more. They would drink at least 3/4 of an ounce per pound of body weight. So if you weighed 128, we'll say, then you would drink 3 quarts a day. That would be, 3/4 of that. And the ones that drank 3/4 of an ounce per pound of body weight, they were getting a lot more benefits, and they were getting them a lot sooner. But he said the ones in his practice that are literally miracles, where the cancers are going into remission, where their diabetes is going away after 20 years, and their arthritis pain is leaving after all these years, and their asthma. I mean, we've literally had people with asthma on inhalers for 20 and 30 years of their life, and all of a sudden they don't have asthma anymore. It's just gone. I've had that happen 2 or 3 times just with the people I've shared it with personally. It's amazing how the body can heal itself when you give it enough water and what it really needs. So he said the ones that are getting the absolute miracles, life-changing, like incredible experiences that you'll never get in with taking pills, he said they're all drinking a minimum of 1 ounce per pound of body weight. So if you're dying of cancer, or if you're sick of having asthma or emphysema, or you've been dealing with migraines your whole life and you wish you didn't have to anymore, or you've been constipated for the last 20 years and you're only having a bowel movement once every 10 days or 7 days or something like that, you want the miracle in your life, work your way up. Don't start out with that much, because if you start drinking that much the first 2 or 3 days, you're going to detoxify too quickly. You'll pull more toxins out of your body than what your liver and your kidneys can process. And if you do that, you might get some diarrhea. You might get nausea, because your body has stirred up so many poisons and toxins, and it's overloading the liver and kidneys, so the body's got to find some alternate pathway to get rid of that. And if it means giving you diarrhea to dump it out of you as fast as it can, it will do that. Or if it means making you throw up, to throw the toxins up out through the top, it'll do that. Or sometimes it'll just start coming out of your pores of your skin, and you might get a skin rash or hives or something like that, because you are detoxing way too fast to be comfortable. So we recommend you start out gradually. When you first get your machine and you first start drinking the water, maybe only drink 2 or 3 quarts the first couple of days till your body gets used to it, and start out on the lower pH like 8.5, because that'll be a much more gradual detoxification, because 8.5 is only about 10 times more alkaline than ordinary tap water. And after you've done that for 10 days or 2 weeks, you gradually clean your liver and your kidneys and your other organs and systems, your blood and everything. And so after 10 days to 2 weeks on the water, you're usually ready to transition to the more powerful 9.0, which is going to be 5 times more powerful than the 8.5. And then that'll clean you out even more, but you're ready for it, because as you clean out your liver and kidneys for that first 10 or 14 days, now they're able to process a lot more toxins because you've cleaned out the filter. So that's much more efficient. So you can easily handle the 9.0, and you do that for 10 days to 2 weeks. And then you're ready to go on to the one that's optimal for humans, which is the 9.5 pH, which again will be another 5 times more powerful. So you transition into it, and it's the same with the amount. You might start out with drinking 2 or 3 liters a day. After a couple of days, drink an extra 16-ounce glass, and then after a day or two, increase it by another 16-ounce glass. And every 2 or 3 days, just add an extra 16 glass in until you get to the goal you want to get to. And in my case, I did the 2 gallons a day like Dr. Berry suggested for a while, and I did that for a couple of months, and then I kind of just realized that, well, I don't really think I need that much. I don't have any health challenges. I don't have any, I haven't had to go to a doctor in over 50 years, knock on wood. So, I've been able to stay healthy my whole life, even at 75, and great addition to my good fortune at doing that has been this water. It's probably the most important thing I've ever done in my health life is drink this water. So anyway, good idea to keep a track of how much you're drinking. And it's the only way. It's just like your goals. If you don't write them down and you don't check them every now and then, you don't realize if you've reached them or not. So you want to keep on track. And this is a goal. Your goal is you want to see set a certain amount of water that you want to drink, and you want to reach that goal. Oh, and I should say one other thing, Wade, before I go into the properties of the water. It's important whenever I learned this from Dr. Vet Mangalich, and in my opinion, he's done more to advance mankind's knowledge of the many roles that water plays in our bodies and in our health than anybody that's ever lived. just absolutely brilliant guy. I know Jan's a big fan of him. We've talked about him many times over the years. I've read 5 of his books. If you want to really learn about what water does in your body, the definitive book for that is Your Body's Many Cries for Water. Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr. Batmanglij. You're not sick, you're thirsty. That's the subtitle of the book. You're not sick, you're thirsty. And he lays it out why almost every single thing that we call a disease or a health challenge, how it all starts with being dehydrated. Everything starts with being dehydrated. So that's a great book. And one of the things he says in that book is that anytime you significantly increase the amount of water you're drinking, obviously you're going to significantly increase the amount of times you urinate. And when you urinate more, you're not only losing these acids and toxins and waste out of the body, but you will also lose alkaline minerals, the electrolyte minerals that your body needs. So he said whenever you significantly increase the water you're taking in, it's important you also increase the amount of sea salt that you're taking in, because sea salt will replace those electrolytes that you're losing as you urinate. And it's important that you do it. It's very important, because if you don't do it, and you're drinking, like I'm talking about, 1.5 gallons or 2 gallons a day, and you continually do that, even if you're drinking maybe 1 gallon or 5 quarts a day, it's still going to be a lot for you because you're not used to it, and you're going to be losing these electrolyte minerals. It's important, vitally important, that you replace them. If you don't replace them, the first thing you're going to notice is you're going to start waking up in the middle of the night with cramps in the back of your calves, or cramps in your bottom of your feet, cramps in your leg muscles, because your muscles are cramping up because you need those electrolytes. And if you get severely deficient in them, they call that neutrimia, where you literally can go into seizures. So you need to replace your minerals. So what Dr. Batmanglij suggests, that he considers a very vitally important thing to do, is for every gallon of water that you drink daily, be sure to get at least 1 teaspoon of good quality sea salt. So it's a very easy ratio, 1 teaspoon per gallon. That's the minimum. I probably do double that every day. And a lot of people are told about being on sodium-restricted diets or salt-restricted diet. That's nonsense, because Dr. Batmanglij also said the 4 most important things in the world that you can put in the human body in order of priority. Number 1 is oxygen. You absolutely have to have oxygen or you're dead in minutes. The second most vitally important thing to put in your body every day is water. I mean, there is no life without water, and if you go several days without water, you're going to die. There's no exceptions to it. And the third most important thing in the whole world that you can put in your body every day is sea salt. That's how important it is. The 4th most important thing is potassium. And you can get potassium every time you eat fruits and vegetables. All of them have potassium in them. So you can take potassium tablets, but you don't get very much, 99 milligrams on average, and you need 4,700 milligrams a day. So who wants to take 47 potassium pills a day? Nobody. So eat fresh fruits and vegetables, and when you do so, then you'll get potassium that way. But those things are vitally important. Okay, so now I want to go on to what you said about the properties, Wade. There are at least 5 major properties that this water has that ordinary water doesn't have that makes it special. And I'll touch on all 5 of them, then we can go back and go into more on them. But first of all, it's alkaline. It's higher alkalinity. And that's achieved in 2 ways. When you ionize water, when the water goes through the electrolysis chamber in the machine, what you're doing, in all water in nature, there's naturally occurring minerals. Some of those minerals will be alkaline, some of them will be acidic. And you need both, but it's the balance is the key. Nature craves the balance, and everything about your body and your health is about the balance. You don't want to have too much, you don't want to have too little, you want to have that right, what do they call it, the Goldilocks amount, where it's not too hot, not too cold, it's just right. So, oh gosh, I did that thing where I lost my train of thought all of a sudden.
5 properties.
Oh, thanks, Wade. Okay, so you make the water alkaline in 2 ways. In the water, there's naturally occurring alkaline minerals, there's naturally occurring acidic minerals, and when the water goes through the ionization process, the electrical current there's anodes and cathodes. These are the electrode plates inside the machine, and the anodes will attract the alkaline minerals that are naturally found in water, and the cathodes will attract the acidic minerals that are naturally found in water. And so what you're doing is you're separating those minerals. So you've still there's nothing being added. They don't add chemicals or minerals, and what they're doing is they're separating them into 2 streams. So you have alkaline minerals in water on one side of the machine, and you got a membrane separating them with the acidic minerals on the other side. So the water you're drinking is the one that's concentrated with the alkaline minerals, and the water that goes down the drain as the wastewater, that's the acidic minerals. Because our main goal here is to provide these alkaline minerals to the body, and to make our bodies more alkaline. Because when you're alkaline, you're healthy, and as you become acidic, that's the disease process. That's the breakdown of the body, the tissues, the degradation and flourishing of the pathogens and everything. So two ways in which the machine makes the water alkaline. One of them is by concentrating more alkaline minerals by eliminating the acidic minerals, and the other way is through the electrolysis itself. There's actually an electrical thing that happens when the water molecule splits that it makes the water electrically alkaline. So anyway, that's the first property. It's alkaline water. And the second property is it's antioxidant water. And most people have heard by now about antioxidants and free radicals. They know free radicals are the bad guys, that attack your cells. It's oxidation, just like a rust on your car, So you want to slow that process. You want to slow that rusting of your body, that oxidation or corrosion of your body. And the way you do that is with antioxidants. Nature's provided antioxidants as a way to donate electrons to neutralize the free radicals before they have to oxidize or attack your tissues. So you can get antioxidants in the food that you eat, like, blueberries and green tea and, lemons and all these things we've heard about before, vitamin C, CoQ10, vitamin E, beta-carotene, all that. There's a much better way to get the thing that makes something an antioxidant is it has extra electrons. It will donate electrons. The thing that makes something a free radical is that it's missing electrons. So the free radical is always trying to steal the electrons that it's missing, and the antioxidant is nature's way of replacing that electron to stabilize that free radical so that it won't need to attack your tissues. It won't need to oxidize your cells because you're providing the antioxidant for it. So your body makes antioxidants like glutathione and superoxide dismutase. We have our own antioxidants that the body makes all the time to help keep us in balance. But you can also enhance your health and lifespan by eating foods that are rich in antioxidants, like oranges and lemons and green tea and blueberries and stuff like that. Well, for each molecule of those foods that you consume, you get one electron. Vitamin C is the exception. You get 2 electrons with vitamin C. But for most of these other, what we call well-known antioxidant foods, you get 1 electron per molecule of that food. But for cognitive water, you get millions and millions and millions of free electrons for every glass that you drink. So there isn't any better way in nature to get these electrons that your body uses to neutralize the free radicals, to stabilize this oxidation and to repair the tissues. There's no better way to do that than drinking Kangen water. So that's the second major property. It's antioxidant water. The third major property is it's microclustered, and I touched on that a little bit earlier. It's literally a smaller molecular structure of water so that your body is able to absorb it faster, more efficiently, and it has a penetrating power where it can draw more nutrients out of your food and deliver everything more efficiently to your cells. And I won't spend a lot of time on this because we don't have a lot of time left today, but basically you don't find water molecules by themselves. In nature, water molecules are always found in clusters. A picture in your mind like a bunch of grapes on the vine. So typical water coming out of your tap might be 13 or 15 or 20 or 30 molecules in a cluster. The more molecules in that cluster, the tighter the hydrogen bonds that hold it together. The problem is the clusters are too big to fit in the cell membranes. They can't fit through the channels. So in order to hydrate your cells effectively, you need to break free individual molecules from the cluster. It's called dissociation. You need to break them apart. And the larger the cluster, the stronger the bonds holding it together, the harder it is to break it apart, so the less hydrating that liquid will be. With Kangen water, when you run it through the machine, the powerful electrical current defragments or breaks up these clusters. So with Kangen water, you're not drinking the molecule clusters that are 13 or 15 or 25 clusters together. You're drinking molecule clusters that are only 4 or 5 or 6 clusters together. And when they're so much smaller like that, they're also so much weaker. It weakens the bonds, the hydrogen bonds hold them together. So when you have the smaller clusters, they easily break apart. They freely dissociate. So you have an abundance of individual molecules, and those are the ones that can fit through the cell membrane. So just by drinking the water, because it's microclustered, your body absorbs it much faster, and it can penetrate the cell membrane much more efficiently to hydrate your body. So that's the third property. The fourth major property is detoxification. This water has an incredible ability to detoxify your body on a cellular and a molecular level. And I want you to imagine a magnet. You know how a magnet has a north and a south pole? If you put the north to the north, it will repel. If you put the south against the south, it will repel. But if you put the north to the south, the opposites attract, and boom, it'll bind real tight, like a magnet will do. That's what the water does. Ordinary water has no charge. It's neutral. Oxygen is -2. Each hydrogen is +1, so +1 and +1 is +2. The oxygen -2, +2 and -2 is 0, so it's neutral. There's no charge. But Kangen water, when it runs through the machine, that electrical current splits the water molecule. It will knock off one, sometimes both, of the hydrogen atoms off of the water molecule. So when you're drinking Kangen water, you're not really drinking H2O anymore. You're drinking H1O. We call it the hydroxyl ion. It's oxygen, but instead of 2 hydrogen attached, there's only 1 hydrogen attached because the electrical current dislodged one of those atoms of hydrogen from the water molecule. So you're drinking the oxygen -2 with only 1 hydrogen +1, so that changes it. Now you have negatively charged water. It's because, -2 oxygen, +1 hydrogen leaves -1. So you're drinking negatively charged water. Why is that so beneficial to the body? Because these acid waste and toxins and food preservatives and pesticides and these chemicals and poison, all these toxins that build up in your body over your lifetime that are backed up in your liver and your kidneys and inside your arteries and inside your colon walls and in your lungs and in your brain and in your fat cells, all these toxins that the body wasn't able to successfully eliminate, that it's isolated in the body somewhere, they have a positive charge. Almost all toxins and waste are positively charged. The water is negatively charged, so it isn't just washing you or flushing you out. It's pulling out like a magnet because opposites attract. So the negative charge of the Kangen water is attracted to the positive charge of the acid waste and toxins in your body, and just like a magnet, it pulls them out of you. So this is a game changer. I mean, Dr. Peggy Parker, who is a brilliant medical doctor, she has an advanced degree in biological medicine, and she had been using Kangen water with her patients, thousands of patients in her clinic for over 5 years before I went to her seminar. I went to a 3-day seminar to learn from her, and she said it was the most powerful detoxifying thing she'd ever come across. More powerful than chlorella, more powerful than zeolite, more powerful than bentonite clay or charcoal or any of the things we've ever known, EDTA, chelation therapy. She said Kangen water, just drinking that alone, was more powerful at taking out heavy metals and lead and mercury and all these other toxins than any of these other well-known means of detoxification. So to me, that's a no-brainer. If you can, every day of your life, drink quarts and quarts of a water that's going to hydrate you, it's going to alkalize you, it's going to detoxify you, all these things, I mean, why would you not want to do it? I mean, I can't tell you the story right now because we're out of time almost, but I had a guy that his kidneys completely shut down, had cancer in his kidneys, 4 years of chemotherapy to poison him, been on dialysis for a year and a half. Some of you have heard this story before. I won't go all the details, but his kidneys had not made urine in 70 consecutive days. He could not urinate for 70 days. He gained 180 pounds of fluid against doctor's orders, who said, don't give him any water because he's retaining all this fluid. I said, no. We got to give him all the Kangen water we can to clean out his kidneys. It's the only chance. We got him on Kangen water after 70 consecutive days of not urinating on his deathbed, getting morphine injections for cancer in 5 organs, being told nothing could be done, that he'd be dead in a day, 2 at the most. We started him on Kangen water. He didn't die the first day. He didn't die the second day. On the 3rd day, they found urine in his catheter. In only 3 days, this negative charge, like a magnet, pulled so much of that old chemotherapy and poison out of his kidneys that they started working again. After 70 consecutive days of not making urine, his body started to make urine again. And long story short, within 6 weeks on the water, all of his cancer was gone. It never came back, and he never had to go back on dialysis because it healed his kidneys. That's how powerful this is at detoxification, so don't underestimate it.
Wow.
And there's a 5th property of the water that that's escaping me at the minute. Alkaline, microclustered, antioxidant, detoxifying. Structured water. I'll make this real quick. Water is meant to have the structure of a snowflake, 6-sided structure, hexagonal structure, just like a snowflake. And that's the way all water used to be in the world before we polluted everything. So there's places in the world you can go today, like up in the Himalaya mountains, get up above the pollution level where the Hunza people live, where they live to be 100, 120, 130 years of age, where they just don't get diseases because the water they're drinking is natural water from alpine streams where glaciers melting at the top of the world and crashing down these steep mountain slopes and dissolving all kinds of alkaline minerals in the water. They call it what do they call it? It's glacial milk. They don't call it water. They call it glacial milk because it looks white like milk. There's so much calcium and magnesium, potassium, and sodium in the water, and it has this natural structure of the snowflake because that's what happens when the glaciers melt. So that's what they're drinking. That's what they irrigate their crops with. So their crops are much healthier, and they're much healthier. And at 100 years of age, it's very typical. They're still working 14 hours a day in the fields. They have the strength and energy still. In their 90s, they're fathering children. I mean, it's just amazing. So there are places in the world where this water occurs naturally, but they're very rare, and they're almost always found at the higher elevations. There's a couple of mineral springs like Nordau in Germany and Tlacote in Mexico and Lourdes in France. There's one in New Delhi, India, places where natural spring water out of the ground has these same properties. But the Japanese invented this technology to replicate those waters, and so that's what you can get. You can get this natural longevity water in your kitchen every day, and it transforms your health. So when you drink Kangen water, it returns the original hexagonal structure that water was meant to be. Most of the water that we're typically getting out of our taps or in bottled waters, around the world at sea level, is pentagonal. Water itself has been denatured from the original hexagonal structure that it's supposed to have to a pentagonal or a five-sided structure. That does not fit properly within the cellular matrix of the body. So the body expends tremendous amounts of energy inside every single cell in the body to try to return water to the hexagonal structure, because that's the key that you need for healthy metabolism for life. But with Kangen water, you save all that energy for other purposes because you're drinking the hexagonal structured water to begin with. So you're literally returning the electrical current in the water, literally returns it to the proper it takes energy to return it to the proper structure. And instead of your body's energy being utilized, the electrical current's providing the energy. In nature, sunshine and the kinetic energy of the water crashing down these alpine streams at high speeds, crashing into the rocks, that kinetic energy is being created to structure the water. But we do it with electrical current. So those are the 5 properties, and it's completely life-changing when you start drinking them every day. It's just so beneficial to your body.
Amazing.
It seems like always, Wade. It seems like there's a lot of things I didn't get to. We'll have to wait till next time, I guess. But
we'll have to keep our notes. Andy, fantastic, Stu, man. I appreciate it so much. You bring so much knowledge with you, and I know it's time. It's time that all the years that you've put into studying, and people go, how do you learn all this? Well, you study, right? You seek it out. I mean, I heard 4 different doctors that you talked about. I mean, I don't know, probably 7, 8 books already in just this little bit of time, guys. Where does it come from? It comes from study and knowledge. And so I just thank you for pouring out your heart to us this morning, but I know it's easy to pour out because you're full, because you're full and you want to give to humankind. And so, Stu, we thank you so much for being here this morning. Man, any one last word you want to say, because I do got to get going, but we just want to thank you.
Oh, you're sure welcome, Wade. Well, I guess the last thing I would say, to me, is the most important one, is make this water the most important thing you do in your life every day for your health. The amount of it that you drink is the single most important determining factor of how healthy you're going to be, how good you're going to feel, how much energy you're going to have, and how long you're going to live. Dr. Mushik John used to be considered the world's leading water scientist. He's passed away now, but he wrote a book called The Water Puzzle and the Hexagonal Key. It's one of the books I read in those first 30 days when I read 20 books about the water, and I was so impressed. This guy had been studying the properties of water for 40 years. It was his entire career. He was the most esteemed water scientist in the world. More than 250 times his research had been peer-reviewed and published in the scientific journals on water. And he said that this water, he didn't use the word Kangen, but he called it structured water, hexagonal water, He said the more of this water that you drink, the more of this water that your body is made of, the more you get into you. He said the healthier you will be. The healthier you will be and the longer you will live. And he said there are no exceptions. This applies to every single person. The healthier you're going to be and the longer you're going to live depends on how much of this water you drink. And he said that not only applies to humans, it applies to all animals and all plants. And I'll just say real quick, I had a dog was dying at 14 years of age, a Dalmatian. The vet was ready to put it to sleep or put it on drugs. I said, no thanks to either one of those. And I decided to put the dog on Kangen water. The dog was falling down, hip dysplasia, would walk into the couch and fall, would fall down on the sidewalk in front of the house like Bambi on the ice, couldn't get his legs back under it. We'd have to go out and get under its belly and lift it up, Couldn't get one step up onto our front porch. We had to build a ramp for it. It was just, end stages of life, At 14, and the lifespan normally is about 10 or 11 for a Dalmatian, so she had a good life, but this was it. And I said, okay, from now on, Kangen water every day, and I started putting sea salt in her food to make her thirsty so she'd drink more Kangen water. Within 30 days, she was like a puppy again, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, she was running around the yard, jumping up on the couch, getting up on the trampoline and playing with my kids. I mean, jumping up and down on her own, and she lived to be 18, almost double her lifespan, and all I did was put her on Kangen water. So all animals, all plants, all humans thrive in the presence of this water. And the more of your body is made of this water, the longer you live and the healthier you're going to be, period. So it's a no-brainer. So get it into your own life, make yourself the example, and then as you do, and as, your body responds, your wrinkles start to go away, your skin starts to look more radiant, your thinning hair starts to fill in again, you start to shed the excess body weight that you wish you didn't have, and it just kind of melts off you. You start to sleep better at night, your constipation goes away, your aches and pains in your joints start to go away. As all these things happen to you, guess what? Your conviction grows, your passion grows, you're seeing it in your own life, and as you experience it in your own life, now you feel empowered to share it with others because you know it's true, because you're living it. And that's the last thing I'd say. Then go out to others and start sharing it. Everybody needs to know about this. I consider it a mission, When I first learned about this water, I had already had a 30-year career in real estate in Southern California, Newport Beach and Laguna Beach area. And at times a very successful career, ups and downs with the real estate market, but, had done very well at it at times. And when I learned about this water, I walked away. 30 years, I just walked away from that, and I told my broker, okay, I won't be coming back. And he couldn't figure out why. He offered me a raise. I said, no, it's not the money. I said, I found this new thing. I've learned about this water, and it's so incredible. I have to be a part of it. There's no way that I can know what this does and not try to share it with my family and my friends and everybody I meet, because it's life-changing, and everybody needs to know about it. And you're never going to hear about it from Big Pharma or the news media that they control. So it was like a mission for me. It was like this, I thank God that this came into my life, and I feel a responsibility to share it with others because the need is so great. Every single day there are millions and millions of people out there in this world that are suffering. They're in pain every day, unbearable pain, just debilitating pain. Some of them think of suicide all the time because the pain won't stop. And it's just people are dying of cancer. They're given no hope. Or, they're told that for every single condition, we don't know the cause, must be your genes, there is no cure, all you can do is take these pills forever with all their lousy side effects. Everybody's being told that same lie over and over and over and over and over. There has never been a greater need in our world for what this water can bring. And if you know about it, and you've been blessed to know about it, and you keep it to yourself, what does that make you?
Yeah.
It makes you selfish. We all have a responsibility, word of mouth, to share this. You can't rely on the government. They're corrupted. You can't rely on Big Pharma. You can't rely on your doctors. And I know the doctors, a lot of them are wonderful people. Certainly the nurses are loving, wonderful people, but they're in a lousy system. They're trapped in a system controlled by evil people at the top that all they care about is making money. And we're the victims of it. So there's never been a time where there was a greater need for this water than there is now. And if you are blessed to know about it, I feel like then we have a responsibility to share it. That's what I've chosen to do with my life. So that's what I do every day, and I don't ever think I'll retire. I don't care if I'm 75 or 95. I don't ever plan to stop spreading this word because mankind needs it, and they deserve to know it, and they're suffering, and the need is great. And if you can help those people, then what else are we here for, Wade? Aren't we here to serve each other? Aren't we here to help each other? Isn't that what it's all about? Amen. And you'll never find a better way to do it than this water. That's what I think.